Oh my god, come on. Come on. Okay. Yes. Oh man.
Ooh, I'm getting some like Matrix vibes. Remember when they go above the smog surface and see sun for the first time?
Machine City. This is gorgeous.
Yes, Brian.
This looks so good.
The effects are incredible in this episode.
I kind of want to be in the fireworks show down below.
Yeah.
Is this the first time in Star Wars where I've wanted to just be watching it all from below rather than be in it?
Like, you want to be on in the Empire.
I mean, I didn't say that, but if you get that view,
okay,
how could you turn that down?
Yeah, I did it for the views. That's a new one.
Put that thing down. Catch our breath. Split up the winnings.
Oh.
Got him.
But wait.
Hands.
Corner. Oh man.
Dude, Andor does not care.
I feel like he was just testing him.
No,
could he have just been testing him? Surely he was just testing him. What just happened?
And Andor says, I'm not even risking it.
Maybe Andor was just like, enough games.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know if you're testing me or not, but like, what a mean test.
Yeah.
I don't like these kind of tests anymore. I've clearly proven my worth to you.
Exactly. I think that's it. I think he's like, come on, I have to survive. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know you guys either. You can't just keep testing me. I'm like, eventually I'm going to be like, wait, am I getting screwed over here? So also anyone that's like, we could split it is definitely going to kill you, shoot you in the back the second you turn around.
Yeah, that's true.
No.
That's true. Nope. Yeah, don't play games when you're on this kind of high stakes mission.
That's right.
I think it's a lesson from that. Welcome back to New Rockstars. Andor episode 6 did not disappoint with the Eye of Aldhani, a gripping hour of television, or whatever you call this, streaming content on whatever device you watched it on. I was on the edge of my seat, and it proves, for better or worse, everyone has their own rebellion. Even our boy cousin from the bear who lied about his pepper picking brother. Come on, man. But how is the Empire gonna retaliate? Oh, what's gonna happen next for all of these characters? Because, you know, we're kind of at the midpoint of the show. We're really all asking what comes next. We'll get our answers when you fix this Andor.
I wanted it on that one.
You did it. Yeah. This is Wookieeleaks, our weekly Andor reaction show. I'm here with Tommy Bechtold. Tommy, thoughts on this episode, man?
You know, I gotta say, I should have been more aware when he called it a pepper tree. I mean, peppers grow on plants, right? Peppers are plants. They grow on vines. I don't know. I mean,
trees are plants. I don't know what peppers grow. I was thinking small, like sapling-sized trees, you know, or maybe this is Star Wars. They call all kinds of things trees.
Maybe someone in the comments will remind us of all the peppers that grow on trees in a loving way, I'm sure. Either way, R.I.P. Cousin Richie. What was his name? Skeen?
Arvel Skeen.
Skeen. No one named Skeen survives in Star Wars. I'm sorry. You get the last name Skeen, you're doomed. There's no.
He's Cousin Skeen.
Cousin Skeeter. Now. Oh, maybe we'll get Cousin Skeeter in a Nickelodeon Star Wars crossover.
Can we have more puppets?
Yeah.
But not like Max Rebo puppets. I mean, like just puppets that know they're puppets.
I almost just said, well, come on. Wouldn't that be hilarious if they had puppets in Star Wars, forgetting that one of the most popular characters in all of Star Wars is a puppet, Yoda? So.
Don't break my heart, Tommy. What are you talking about?
I mean,
he was a real thing.
Yoda's a real alien little green. You're right. I'm sorry.
Why could you say that? Do you think Cousin Skeeter was self-aware and knew that he had a hand up his butt?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he liked it. That's why he was always smiling.
Hey, so something interesting about Arvel Skeen now. If this whole story about his pepper picking farmer brother was a lie, that means he really thought this through of like, okay, well, not only that, the Empire flooded his farm, and then he paddled a boat to the middle of that floodplain, and then he filled his pockets filled with rocks, and then he jumped in, and he's like, I can't swim, and he sunk all the way to the bottom, and that's why I'm fighting for the... Like, I was with him! Yeah. I believed him on his story. My heart broke. How could you do this to us, Skeen?
He's a great actor.
He truly is. I mean, Ivan Mas-Baccarat, an amazing actor. I give this guy his own show.
Yeah, I mean, part of me is like, good, move him on to something else now. Now we can enjoy him in something else.
That's true.
Put him in another show. House of the Dragon Season 2? Why not?
Yeah, I'd watch him in that. So let's recap everything that happened this episode so we can look to what happens next on this show, now that we're in its midpoint. Episode 6, again, such a great hour of television. Or whatever this was. Nemik tells Cassian that he couldn't sleep because he has too much to believe in. Poor Nemik. When you're a true believer, you're just gonna be tossing and turning all night. And then he just like says, well, you have nothing. He's like, you have nothing. And you slept soundly, which I very much enjoyed. But Cassian says Nemik will sleep well when it's over. And you know what, Tommy? He does. Yeah, sleeping with the angels.
Although I gotta say, a little bit of that's on him. I know we're probably gonna get to it. Why was he positioned like that on the freighter trying to escape? I mean, a couple of things in this episode that I'll bring up later. But go ahead, please continue.
Yeah, you're right. He was don't stand behind some loose fat stacks. You see how heavy those are. They take a dolly to move in there. Everything's loose. Don't stand next to some loose stuff. You know maybe that's the thing. I mean, Cassian did call out how little they knew about the propulsion of this stuff, like how to weigh it properly. I think that was kind of a red flag for someone's going to get crushed. And probably some Marxist symbolism there, right? Capital destroys all, I think is what we learned from that.
Poignant. I wish that he had kind of like popped a little bit, like it had squished him and like his eyeballs bulged out. Like a sausage.
I wanted him to go, oh, that's gonna leave a mark.
Oh, daddy. Oh. Yeah, that would have been great.
I wanted Vel to get some like, what do they call that? Like Mama Grizzly strength when the baby's strapped into the car.
Yeah, when they can like lift a car.
Just lift the money. Anyway, we meet Gorn's supervisor, Corporal J-Hold Bihaz. I love the names on this show. Glurbshido is his name, I believe. But he greets the Imperial engineer from Coruscant. No particular VIP, just another smug jerk who has his goofy little telescope to look at the star shower. What a jerk. Colonel Pettigar is his name, and Bihaz has also a wife and a son at the base. I love this show. Everyone's got a family that they go home to. And the son, no fan of the Imperial lifestyle. J-Hold has a sash that doesn't fit him right anymore. I kind of wanted him to yell at his son to get the, what's it called, the sash stretcher?
Go get my leather puncher or whatever, my like those things where you like make another loop in your belt or whatever.
Yeah.
Go get my punch.
You mean a knife?
Yeah.
Some scissors?
Yes. Get me my sewing kit. Because it's time to become a seamstress again.
We learned that Terraman was a former stormtrooper, but also this comes from Skeen, so who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? But Gorn disguises them as Alkenzi sentries. They escort the 60 or so Aldhani pilgrims to the temple, where the pilgrims partake in this goat pelt exchange ritual with the corporal's family. The pilgrims just burn this pelt, and they start one hell of a party. And Tommy, we were talking about this earlier, but like, yeah, in Star Wars, the most beautiful place to be usually is right in the heat of the battle, above the orbit of the planet. But this is the first time where it wanted me to be in those deleted scenes from the 1977 film where Luke and his friends are just looking up at the battle overhead in the sky. That's kind of where I wanted to be here. I wanted to be with like the ground folks, looking at this beautiful action overhead. Like, not only is that safer to be, that's just where the most beautiful imagery is.
I wanted to be like the common people.
I want to be where the people are.
That's right. Want to see him walking
around on those. What do you call them? Max Rebo's feet.
Rebo feet. He uses the feet to play the organ.
I think Puppet Feet is a good improv team name. So Tommy and I are going to start doing a duo show.
Puppet
coming
Feet.
To the New Rockstars Burbank Back Theater.
That's right. Coming soon.
January 2023.
Well, I mean,
Puppet Feet.
If we are in Burbank, most people believe we're in Vancouver.
Yeah. Oh, oops. On Vancouver Street in Burbank.
That's right.
Our own employees can't even get into that building.
That's right. No one knows how to get in here.
Or get out.
It's just a hand. I'm like Bihaz. You just use my hand, and that's how you get in. But only me. So if I don't show up early, we don't work.
It's Tommy's the key to all of this. So Vel and Cinta approach the dam from the lake. Some really cool underwater shots here. And they install some comms jammers. The rebels take the corporal and his family hostage. Pretty brutal choices. But I think it was really Skeen who was just shoving that gun in the kid's head. I was like, yikes, Skeen, the kid's, I guess he understands the motivation, but I mean, had he been in the room when that father was talking to his family earlier, I don't know if they would have viewed the family as the proper motivation. The engineer nearly kills Nemik, but Cinta takes down this engineer. They leave Cinta behind to guard the control room. They use the corporal to break in the vault, force him and his men to load those fat stacks of credits onto the freighter. The Alkenzi airbase calls in when the vault is breached and sends a squad of TIE fighters. I love that we start with these pilots. Running down the catwalk to lower into their, I just love it anytime we can actually see the pilots enter like the thing. You know, most of the time it's like you've seen Rebels enter X-Wings, but we don't commonly see the other side of it. I think in The Force Awakens you see, you know, the First Order pilot, Finn, enter the X-Wing or enter the TIE fighter, but this is like the first time we've seen some hanging TIE fighters that they all run down and get in.
Yeah, that was
very
great.
cool. And it kind of grounded us with these guys in their cockpits. So Kimsey from the tower catches on to the heist and leads a group down to the vault where they engage in this shootout. You know, the corporal realizes that Gorn has betrayed him. We get this great moment of, you know, after serving you for 7 years, I deserve worse. Oof. What a line.
Yeah.
What a line. I think that is the moment where the corporal's heart breaks, really.
Yeah, he's like, but we've had dinners together. You've dined in my home. Big dinners. Second portions of dinners. And figgy pudding.
Can we fit in another dinner real quick?
Good. One last dinner before we both die.
The deaths happen too fast here. Like, Gorn gets shot, and we barely linger on it. Terramin asks Skeen for cover, and we were wondering later, could Skeen have been testing Andor? Maybe, but Skeen did totally leave Terramin out to dry here. He took one shot and then hid behind the wall, leaving poor Terramin to get gunned down seconds later. If he had just continued firing, Terramin would have made it to the freighter. But clearly, Skeen was going about this with the pirate game in mind. Just take away all the other people to split the hull with. Piece of shit. Cassian quickly starts his freighter just a little too quickly before the payload is locked down, leaving it to slide back and crush Nemik. Ouch. Vel gives Nemik basically the Star Wars equivalent of an adrenaline shot, so he can read off the directions from his Polaroid Starpath unit. Cassian manages this daring escape through the gorgeous Eye of Aldhani. Meteor shower, not a meteor shower, because it's really just a planet passing through the crystalline belt or whatever. TIE fighters get destroyed in the shower. It's such a well-directed, well-edited, well-shot sequence. It's just so much fun.
I loved it. I loved that Polaroid Starpath unit, by the way. That was
me too.
What a great shout out to my friend Liv, who identified the exact Polaroid camera being used.
Yeah, it's like a 72, whatever. It's very, very specific, and it seems like it takes a moment to recharge too, which is fun.
Star Wars has a rich history of using like camera equipment to create their props. I mean, the lightsaber hilts are famously flash bulb like holders from Kodak cameras, right? I think.
Because you got to imagine all these folks are working on a film set, so they're just kind of looking around to photography and other things that might be lying around, that kind of equipment, lighting equipment, sound equipment. So I love this. So we had this little debate over whether or not to bring Nemik to the doctor that they have on standby. And now looking back, we realized that Skeen just did this so that he could have a moment alone with the Hall and have Vel separated in whatever this medical tent was, which is just a bummer because it seems like a moment where it paints Vel in a bad light. So it's like, okay, Vel's a little more driven than we thought. And then Skeen, we thought was a bleeding heart. Now both of them kind of suck because, I mean, they're all motivated. I'm not saying the characters are poorly written. It's just like, we like them a little bit less, but it's also for the show's benefit. I think it just shows these rebels as like real people who have complex motivations and are willing to, not save the cat. I appreciated that. So while they're sitting around, while this doctor, it looks like a Mimbanese doctor, by the way, and Mimban was where Cassian fought in the war alongside Han Solo and Chewie. So I just thought that's an interesting thing there. They have this moment between Skeen and Cassian where they're debating, hey, should we split the payload? Skeen says that he has no brother. Cassian shoots him dead. Inside the tent, we learn that Nemik has died on the operating table. Cassian gives Vel Luthen's Kyber crystal to return to Luthen, and he says that he's just only going to take his promised cut of the credits and leave the rest with her. Vel gives Cassian Nemik's Manifesto. So Partagaz orders all ISB officers to prepare a retaliation plan. In the Imperial Senate, Mon Mothma makes a plea to aid the Gormans. It's hard to tell. I was looking for like cameos among the other senators. It looks like on a central dais we do see like this pale figure that I think might be Sly Moore because she kind of has that pale skin and the bald head. Because this Sly Moore did get mentioned earlier in the series, and I think at this point she would be standing in as kind of the representative for the Emperor.
Yeah.
Gonna be her job. Yeah, she notices some other senators reacting to the Aldhani news. That news reaches Luthen in a shop. He goes around the corner to celebrate a little too loudly.
Yeah.
I assume these random patrons aren't really like spying on him for any reason, but he doesn't really like
But that was
hide it.
that was a great like one-line cameo casting of the dude who's like, "Do you have anything from Aldhani or whatever?" And he was like, "I was like, oh, this dude looks evil. He's gonna like shoot him or something." Like he's like an Imperial officer or something. But
Yeah, I think he was like, wait, I was just kidding. Why would you have anything from that planet? Are you crazy?
it was a joke.
No, come back.
He should have been credited as Rich Prick at the end. That should have been his role. Rich
One
Prick.
of the Nick Kroll characters, Rich
Yeah.
Pricks.
Exactly.
You know, if Nick Kroll ever shows up in Star Wars, he's gonna play so grounded. He's not gonna play by his characters.
Yeah,
You
that's too bad.
And that's what we want from
He
him.
should voice an alien. Then he can do it. Like Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
We got Unkar Plot. Be like, just have him be like, anyway.
But yeah, Luthen's super excited.
Mhm.
Oh, the new wigs he'll be able to buy now that he has
Yes.
80 million credits. Good for him. I'm happy for
Yes.
him. I love him. All right, Tommy, let's jump right to the question.
Yes. No ifs and or buts about it, Eric. Is Aldhani effed?
Oh boy. Yeah, what is next? How will the Empire strike back here? Because structurally, this season of Andor is broken up into 4 3-season chunks. The first 3 episodes were centering around Ferrix and Cassian getting away from the Pre-Mor cops as they were investigating the murder. The second 3 obviously focused on this Aldhani heist mission. This season is not done with either of those planets, though. Last episode showed how the Empire is setting up a presence on Ferrix, taking over their hotel. Trailer footage proves that things will return there. We know there's going to be some like rioting that happens there, and that Dedra Meero is going to show up on Ferrix. This rebel victory in Aldhani, though, is a very, very big deal, judging from the reaction from Luthen, from the senators. Like if it reaches the senators and they leave like an open session of the Senate to like react to it. And then the way Partagas rallied the troops of the ISB, yeah, this is a huge deal. I mean, it is a quarter of the sector Imperial's payload, right? And Partagas says, "I want every star sector and planetary emergency retaliation plan in the building ready for presentation by midnight." Now, I didn't look at anyone's clock. Maybe it was like 11:52.
Right.
They're like, by midnight tonight.
Right.
What?
Can I get an extension?
I was sleeping. Now, remember, Cinta was left behind in Aldhani. She dressed herself as an Imperial guard. She joined the Pilgrims. Her captives saw her face throughout all this, which makes us worried how she's going to get out of here. Though trailer footage does show her retrieving a speeder bike and then looking up in fear at a massive Star Destroyer that arrives to this planet. So the Empire is pulling out all the stops. You don't bring a Star Destroyer just to, investigate. It's a battle station. They're going to wreck this place. So will the Imperial retaliation be to bomb the shit out of Aldhani and all of its pilgrims? Will the sacred temple be destroyed? How do you think the Empire is going to strike back? And will it just escalate things worse?
I believe that there's going to be more of a debate than just simply going back and bombing the ever-living crap out of the Aldhani. I think that what we're going to see is a struggle for what strategy, who to blame, a struggle for blame. Because they're going to be like, how could it have been the Aldhani shepherds and pilgrims who we have such little respect for? We think of them as like simpletons who don't even bathe properly, right? Like the explanation of even like we just set taverns up on the way here, and so many of them just get drunk and party that they don't even make it to this actual thing. They start as 1,500, they end as 60. Which I think will begin a debate within the Empire of like, this is a large, I mean, not that they don't already know there's a rebellion, but like, we need to find out who is the power supply of this rebellion. Who's got the money, who's got the tech, who's got the manpower, person power. So I think there's going to be a struggle leading to it looks like there's going to be a bombing of the Aldhani, but I think at the last minute it's going to get called off when they're going to realize that like either Luthen or perhaps even Mon Mothma having to go underground are to be held responsible for this heist. That's my theory.
That's an interesting thought there, Tommy. I'm wondering if they might bomb part of the planet. Some of the more sacred stuff that we saw, and some of those pilgrims might not make it out. But that might be part of like the 3D chess by the rebellion and people like Saw Gerrera, that they may either use this after the fact or be waiting for a test case in order to further the rebels' propaganda message. Remember, in Rogue One, they kept the Death Star plan secret because they didn't want the independent systems and the people who were kind of happy to be subjugated by the Empire to realize that the Empire had this WMD that could quash any kind of representation or any kind of dissent. So I think there were factions of the Empire who are like, maybe we should not be building a super weapon like this, or maybe like if we are, definitely don't let it out there until it's finished, because it hurts our propaganda message that we're just trying to provide peace in the galaxy. So if something like this happens, I think there's going to be some hawkish factions of the Empire who want revenge, who want blood for blood, an eye for an eye.
And money, and they want their money back.
Yeah, right. Oh, for sure. I think that's already going to be a problem. But yeah, I think they're going to, obviously they plan to strip this valley anyway to build an Imperial base. I think they're going to expedite those plans. And that will be used by people like Luthen, by Mon Mothma, by Saw Gerrera, and whoever else they want to join the leadership to further the propaganda message out there. It's kind of like what Leia told Tarkin. The more you tighten your grip, the more star systems slip through your fingers. And that's what's going to happen here. They're going to try to tighten their grip and snuff out dissent. But in doing so, a lot of people are going to look at this massacre that happens on Aldhani and be like, whoa, you guys have no claim to try to lie to us and say that you're providing peace. You guys are warmongers. You guys are monsters. I think ultimately that's what's going to happen. I think maybe it necessarily wasn't about the money per se. It was about the message. And they were identifying, it's kind of like when you hear of these famous Supreme Court cases that get brought all the way to the Supreme Court. When you look into the specifics of the case itself, normally you're like, really? That's what this is over? And it's because lawyers specifically identify a test case that they can use to most rally around like public to make it the distance all the way through the federal courts, all the way to the Supreme Court. They're looking for like a very specific set of conditions that will help them best make the legal argument, not necessarily one that is like the most truest outrage necessarily, if that makes sense. A lot of protest movements will do that too. Like famously, there was like another woman before Rosa Parks who wasn't as good of an example of that message. And once Rosa Parks refused to get up her bus, like the whole civil rights movement was like, yes, let's run with this. Let's run with this. Because that's part of the strategy. That's part of the activist strategy. Is you have to like figure out what parts of your narrative are most going to move the needle and bring more people to your cause. Like you have to do this. You have to.
Absolutely.
So I think that's what's going to happen. I think this is going to be the first step in an escalation by the Empire. I'm nervous. So yeah, this brings us to the question of what really is next for Cassian, and specifically Nemik's manifesto. Tommy, I think we've talked about this a little bit, but like that manifesto, I think is going to be hugely important. I think it's going to be arguably the most important, at least prop, to make it out of the series. And I'm so excited to see how Nemik's thoughts, his teachings, his late night Creed thoughts will influence many characters who we've met before. We could find out that this gets in the hands not only of Saw Gerrera, but people, the crew of the Ghost. Maybe we find out a young pilot named Luke Skywalker is reading it right before the trench run. But what do you think is next for all this?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how much Cassian is going to read it and how much more he's going to distribute it. Like I think he'll read it, but like Cassian has his, like even through Rogue One, his own agenda and his own way of dealing in the rebellion. So yeah, I think it'll be tremendously important. I wonder, is it a thing where he gives it to Luthen, and Luthen gets it mass distributed. It seems like someone with a little more power and money is going to have to get their hands on it to distribute it, right? And to kind of I don't know if they have a galactic version of the Gutenberg printing press, but we're going to need some sort of electronic. Maybe they can upload it or something. Maybe it gets beamed out to all across the galaxy. Maybe that's like some sort of like end of an episode scene is like just billions of copies of this manifesto getting in the hands of people everywhere, winning the hearts and minds, as they say.
Yeah, I think what would be hard about this is we live in this era of Star Wars where it's essentially space Nazis have subjugated everything. So things like books, it's going to be hard to distribute books.
Right.
Like that's like the first thing they start burning when the Nazis take over.
Right.
And the first things they start restricting, like free access to literature like that. So it might get transposed into some other form. Like I could see a great podcast, maybe a 6-episode streaming series version of Nemik's Manifesto.
Welcome back to The Daily. I'm Tommy Bechtold, and with me is my co-host, Eric Voss. Today we're discussing the Nemik Manifesto.
Yeah. I think like a lot of things in Star Wars, like it's not so much about what's written in the book. You know, Last Jedi famously, Yoda said, page turners they were not. I would imagine Nemik's Manifesto is a hell of a page turner, for one. I'd rather sit down with that than like the Jedi Code.
I want him to be like, you know, he was so kind of like, I don't want to say dopey. He wasn't dopey, but he was so like kind of sweet and soft. Like the way he spoke was like, everything will be good. It'll be all right. You could like this will keep you alive. This is good. And then the manifesto's like, if you do not crush this empire, we will be like it's all like the language is just very aggressive. We must rip out the heart of the snake.
You know, he said that like the chapter he wrote, which would have been the last chapter of this, if you think about it, because he wrote it the night before the mission. I don't think he had time on the mission to write another entry. He gave it a chapter heading saying the role of mercenaries in the galactic struggle for freedom, talking specifically about Cassian Andor. He said he didn't mention his name, Clem or Cassian, but you have to imagine that chapter will be read by someone like Princess Leia, and that will justify why she's like, okay, we need Han Solo. If money is like, there's so many parallels in this series between Cassian and Han.
Right.
I can't help but see this.
Well, is it read by someone like you say? Luke Skywalker almost makes more sense in the sense that when they get to the cantina to find a pilot, Kenobi seems more like apprehensive of Han Solo, and Luke is like, this guy can do it. He'll be great. Like,
I mean, this is what like I didn't realize Star Wars needed this so much until I watched this show.
Yeah,
it's just. They needed their Thomas Paine. They needed their John Locke. They needed their, Patrick Henry, their political thinkers. Their Rousseau, their Machiavelli, their everybody, their revolutionary philosophical underpinnings. Because, we get that the Empire is evil, but we need something that the rebels are fighting for. And obviously not every rebel is going to have read this paperwork. Not everyone's really going to think about it that deeply. That's the case in any revolution. Everyone has their own rebellion. They're fighting for their own motivations, which is fine. But there has to be someone in this movement that gets the, what's the word I'm looking for? Gets the intellectual class involved. So at least this is going to be distributed between Mon Mothma and her friends. Like, and who's Mon Mothma mentoring? Leia at this point in history, or has sometime recently. So don't be surprised if this book comes back and gets in the hands of someone that we know. I think we need someone to pass this manifesto, even if it doesn't get mass distributed. These teachings, I think, are going to influence a lot of people, and you're going to see a lot of people on this series, at least, quoting what Nemik said or speaking that kind of language. Probably like misquoting it and bastardizing it, getting it wrong. We're going to see someone turn this into a rap musical at some point. People are really going to love it. Then there's going to be a backlash, and there's going to be a backlash to the backlash, and it's just going to go back and forth forever.
I think the important thing is that we argue about it and don't give any good faith.
Yes, assume the worst from everyone.
Yes.
Now, another reminder, things are going to go back to Ferrix. Cassian and Vel are probably going to end up back together because we see Vel, the actress who plays Vel, in trailer footage on an Imperial-occupied Ferrix. She's standing in an alleyway as stormtroopers are marching past. So somehow these two are going to end up back together. I have to imagine that I don't know if Cassian would want to go back to Ferrix right now because he just like left that planet and there's probably still a death warrant out for his arrest. So what do you think? Where do you think Cassian is literally going to go next? We know he's going to be part of another mission on some like forced labor camp planet.
Yeah.
Like, what do we think the next 3 episodes are going to be about?
I think the next 3 episodes I think we end back in Ferrix. I think the next 3 might be Luthen giving him another assignment. Like, you're willing to do this. You did a great job with that. I mean, at this point, though, I guess it's so important for him to remain. I mean, the theme of the fact that the Empire never learns because they're so like, they're just so powerful. They never learn from any of their mistakes is kind of leading up to him just doing a similar thing again, right? Like, he's going to infiltrate the Empire again. That's kind of what he does. He goes in and they don't even notice because they're so fat and satisfied. We got the literal manifestation of that in this episode of a fat and satisfied commanding officer. So I would say Luthen probably sends him out to get something else. Or, I mean, not to make it like a, Mandalorian, go out and do this thing and, solve this problem for us and we'll give you this. But, looking at, I would imagine it's a mission now Andor by himself. I think we've seen Andor with a team. Now we get Andor by himself. And then I assume we probably end this season or this half of the series with Andor returning to Ferrix to, save his friends or save his stepmother.
Yeah, we know Luthen will be meeting Saw Gerrera sometime soon.
Right.
I assume the next 3 episodes it's going to be something with the Partisans, some other mission.
Yeah.
And I wonder if Cassian will now go back to his original objective from the opening scene of trying to find his sister.
Yeah.
That we might learn some more information about what was happening on Kenari.
Yeah.
And that might further motivate him to use his cut of the winnings to fund rebel efforts. Maybe he loses it at some point. Maybe he gets robbed by Han and Chewie.
Ooh.
No, I mean, that's a lot of money that he just got.
Yeah.
And speaking of this money, what is the rebellion going to do with 80 million credits? I did some financial breakdowns of what all this is. X-Wings reportedly cost $150,000 of our money new, or 150,000 credits. New, 65,000 credits used.
Okay.
And if you convert that to 1977 using the exchange rate, that would be, I don't think you have to do that. I'm just kidding.
A used X-Wing for $13,000. I could almost afford that.
I mean, pretty good.
If I could get these people to give me a raise.
I mean, you are necessary to get in the building, Tommy.
That's right.
I think
Wait
you're more
a second.
leverage than you think.
Why? Someone's coming for my hand, Eric. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God.
No. Well, I think either they could buy a ton of X-Wings with it. I wonder if this is now going to be what Luthen brings to Saw Gerrera. And he's like, okay, you needed money to buy more equipment, more ships, to recruit more people.
And maybe a fun new pet?
Yeah.
The poor gullet.
You think they spent it all on just poor Gullet? That would be the best use of that money. We need someone to hug people so hard they have to tell the truth.
The poor gullet is a saltwater animal.
Ooh, I think you're using poor Gullet for other things, Saw. No. Just for business. It's a business expense.
He uses suction cups to get the truth. That's all. No one is being sucked. No one is being sucked. Jin, no one, you have to believe me, Jin, no one is being sucked. All right, so why don't you just sit down and drink a glass of blue milk for a second, okay, bud? All right.
I'm lactose intolerant.
I'm going to blow gutlets if I drink that milk.
I'm loving this show so much.
Me too.
I don't know what's going to happen in the last 6 episodes. I kind of love that.
Yes.
This show is such a ride. And what a beautifully written show. I love all the characters. I don't want any of them to die, but I love that the show will kill off several of them.
Yeah.
And we'll leave it there for this episode of Wookieeleaks. Again, Easter egg breakdown for this episode. It's coming tomorrow. Please watch it. I feel like I do a good job breaking down some cool stuff in that episode. And tell your friends to watch the show because it's awesome.
Yeah.
It slaps. Tommy and I will be back next Wednesday with our reaction episode 7 of Andor. You can follow Tommy at Tommy Bechtold. Follow me at EA Voss. Follow New Rockstars. Subscribe to Wookieeleaks wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for watching, and we have spoken.